Talk about a lot of political things, but underneath all of that is the Bible. I am unapologetically 100% in favor of is the Bible. Jesus is the Word. There is no delineation. If the Bible says it, that's what Jesus is, and that's what Jesus believes. That's what this podcast is actually about, is to actually alert people to what is coming and what is our responsibility in the midst of it.
And so there have been no occasions when your security detail had difficulty waking or locating you. Is that right?
Nope, it's a total farce. I don't even know where you get this stuff, but it doesn't make it credible because you say so.
I'm not saying it, Director Patel. It's been written and documented.
You are literally saying it.
No, I'm saying that these are reports, Director Patel.
No,
and
unlike your baseless reports, the only person that was slinging margaritas in El Salvador on the taxpayer dollar with a convicted gangbanging rapist was you.
You know,
the only person that ran up a $7,000 bar tab in Washington, D.C. at the lobby bar was you. So the only individual in this room that has been drinking on taxpayer dime during the day is you.
Director Patel, come on. These are serious allegations that were made against you.
The allegations are false.
Filed.
You drinking margaritas with a gangbanger is true and on video.
It just goes to show you
running a $7,000 bar tab at the lobby bar has been filed by your own office.
This goes to show
drink during the day. That's you. This is the ultimate example of hypocrisy.
Mr. Chairman,
I will not be tarnished by baseless allegations and fraudulent statements from the media.
The fact that you mentioned that indicates you don't know what you are talking about. Now, here, Director
The only thing I know is you're the one drinking margaritas with felons.
Actually, that's a false statement, and I'm asking you about your statements.
I've answered that.
And I'm asking you about a particular report.
Well, Abby, I think it's a mistake to sit here and say that the food stamp program makes Americans better off. In 2000, there were only 17 million Americans on food stamps. Today, there are 42 million of them, 4 million of whom are refugees, are migrants in this country, whether they have TPS or refugee status. It doesn't matter. I don't think it's a good measure of the economy that more and more Americans rely on the government. What I think President Trump wants to do is build an economy where everyone can earn a dignified market wage so they don't have to rely on the government to feed their family.
So what happened is we have a ballroom that's under budget. It's going up right here. I've doubled the size of it because we obviously need that. And we're right now on budget, under budget, and ahead of schedule. I doubled the size of it, you dumb person. It's double the size. You are not a smart person. Right over here. Wait a minute. Right over here. And based on a lot of things that have happened over the last year, we doubled the size of the ballroom. So we're going to have a ballroom that's appropriate for the White House. We doubled the size. The ballroom now is ahead of schedule, and it's a little bit under budget, depending on the finishes that we use.
The U.S. tells Zelensky that security guarantees depend on withdrawal from Donbass.
That's a lie. And I saw him say that, and it's unfortunate he would say that because he knows that's not true, and that's not what he was told. What he was told is the obvious. Security guarantees are not going to kick in until there's an end to a war, because otherwise you're getting yourself involved in the war. Okay, what is a security guarantee? It is troops that are willing to step in and secure. If you put that in place now, that means you're injecting yourself in the war. What he was told very clearly, and he should have understood it, is that the security guarantees come only after there is an end to the war. But that was not attached to unless he gives up territory. I don't know why he says these things. They're just not true.
What is the U.S. position on Donbass?
We've told the Ukrainian side what the Russians are insisting on. We're not advocating for it. We've explained it to them. It's their choice to make. It's not for us to make for them. We've never told them they have to take it or leave it. The role we have played is to try to figure out what both sides want and see if we can bridge the middle ground. The decision ultimately is up to Ukraine. If they don't want to make certain decisions or certain concessions, then the war keeps going.
The situation in the country is inhuman because I never would think that my country would be the one where people are grabbed on the streets and forced to the front lines. I never would think that we all agree and stay silent to the fact that Zelensky uses frontline as the punishment. And
he uses the war as a punishment, political punishment?
Yeah. He even was open about that. He was saying if somebody does something bad, we need to punish them and send to the front line. That was his statements. But there are people who are sent there just because they're critics of Zelensky,
And that's exactly what happened. I've been texting with folks, and they're saying, and these are folks at the D-Trip saying, yes, this is a setback, but they feel like, they were trying to get 4 additional seats. Probably 2 of those they probably can get, particular if it's a wave.
Because it could be a bad year.
It could be a bad year. But listen, this is a big blow. Hakeem Jeffries. I basically wrote a column that was like, this was great for Hakeem Jeffries because he was all in on it. $38 million spent from a group affiliated with him. Obama was in on this, and now this is a big defeat. And one of the reasons why Virginia was so important as well was Democrats were anticipating this Supreme Court decision.
Kate, I hate to ruin your morning, but it's going to be more like R plus 10
I assure you will not ruin my morning, Scott Jennings.
It's going to be more like 10 or 11, I think, after all of this, because not only do you have the Virginia case, you've got Louisiana redrawing, Tennessee.
Let's put up the map if we can there, just to show the redistricting push. We calculate that Republicans have figured out a way to pick up about 14 seats. Democrats is about 6, so that's a net 8.
But you haven't. But Louisiana is still yellow. That's going to be another.
Yeah, it's all
Alabama's another one. South Carolina mayor. We'll see what happens in South Carolina. So the point is, and look, don't take it from me. Washington Post, New York Times, the math and the map totally upended. So just a few days ago, Republicans were in the doldrums about the midterms. Mm-hmm. Now, because of Virginia, because of the redraws after the Voting Rights Act case, you've got Republicans feeling resurgent. The map looks good. The money looks good. The candidates look good. So we actually have a real race here, whereas just a couple of weeks ago, Republicans were in despair.
But Republicans still have to win those seats.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't get to say the word illegals anymore.
But you have.
The diverse. The percentage.
Who are you to tell me what I can and can't? I've never met you, brother. Listen, I can say whatever I want. They're illegal aliens, and that's what the law calls them, illegal aliens. That's what I'm going to call them. As for our conversation,
Are you aware of what the other evidence is they have other than that message, which is on Amazon right now for sale?
Yeah, I hate to stiff arm you, but I'm going to do the same thing. It's very important that we respect and obey the rules of the federal court in North Carolina and everywhere, even if others don't. And so I'm not going to talk about that. Except to say, as I said earlier, I am not only not guilty, I am innocent, and we will pursue this fully.
Here, but is this Instagram?
Instagram,
You
yeah.
grammed this. You were walking down the beach. What happened? You were walking down the beach, and you saw this on the beach?
Yeah, my wife and I, Patrice, were walking on the beach and saw those numbers in shells on the beach. And
you didn't do this. Somebody else did this.
Yeah, somebody else did it. We were on a walk preparing for this week, the rollout of my book.
Yep.
She looked at it and said, why'd someone put their address in the sand?
All right.
And then we stood at it, trying to figure out what it was. And she'd long been a server in restaurants. And she said, you know what I think it is?
Yeah.
I think it's a reference to restaurants when you would 86 something in a restaurant.
Right, it's off the menu.
Yeah. I said, no, I remember when I was a kid, you'd say 86 to get out of a place. This place stinks, let's 86 it.
Right. I was a bartender. You would 86 a customer if they were getting drunk. Like, let's 86 them. Let's, like, give them a low-proof alcohol, something like that. Yeah.
And so I said, I think it's a clever political message. And she said, you should take a picture of it. I said, sure. And then she said, you should Instagram that. And boom.
You were back in the middle of a political firestorm.
Yeah, for walking on the beach with my wife. So I don't know how we ended up here. It never occurred to me that it was any kind of controversial thing, but that's the time we live in.
So take me back to the walk on the beach.
We were walking on the beach. We went to the beach to prepare for this week, which was the launch of my book, and to think about the book and to prepare to answer questions about it. And we were walking back towards the road, and we saw in the sand someone had arranged shells with numbers. And Patrice, my wife, said, why would someone put an address in the sand? And I said, I don't know. And we stood over it, and I said, I think it's some kind of like political message. And she said, 86 when I was a server, she did a lot of work in restaurants, meant to remove an item from the menu when you ran out of ingredients. And I said, well, to me, as a kid, it always meant to leave a place, to ditch a place. I said, that's really clever. So then she said, you should take a picture of that. And I did. And I posted it on my Instagram account and thought nothing more of it until I heard through her that people were saying it was some sort of a call for assassination, which is crazy. But I took it down. Even if I think it's crazy, I don't want to be associated with violence of any kind.
And then what happened?
I got a call from the Secret Service that night asking if I would speak to them about it. Of course. I admire the Secret Service. They're pros. I spoke to them on the phone. Then they asked the next day when I got home, would I be willing to come in and meet them in person at the Washington field office, which again, I did, and they were pros again.
All right, Tuesday night, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing good. As always, be blessed in the mighty name of Jesus. Let me say it, everybody, in the chat. Guitar Glenn is on. Peg McGroin is on. Auntie Mama is on. Skunk 71 is on. Big Jim Go Blue is on. Granite 2468 is on. Drummer for Jesus is on. Arcadia Angel is on. JGCK is on. Let me see here. K4, VMS is on. USA 1 Mike is on. Jeannie Malfeasy is on. Excuse me. Sunwoo 45 is on. Let me see. Captain Cliff is on. Jim Brody is on. Robin Aroni is on. Gloyd Shaw is on. Mobetta 01 is on. David Graves is on. Clean Sanchez is on. Douglas Tina is on. Release the Hog is on. Stephen Thomas is on. Louanne 5 is on. Let me see here. Uncle Wally is on. Milwaukee James is on. Aphrodites is on. Sedensmore is on. Les Cruz Brown is on. Scrolling down. Let me see here. Snag Dog is on. Let me see. Jules 21 hours already in the rant. Thank you, Jules is on. Let me see here. Patrina C is on. California 1960 is on. Let me see here. Scrolling. DC 941 is on. Grab a couple more here. Conservative Waffle is on. Lisa Kinzer is on. Smokey Joe 115 is on. Let me see here. Scrolling down, let me grab one or two more here. Confederate 1 is on. Agravane is on. Let me grab one more. There's one. Mud Tire 84 is on. All right, love you guys. Appreciate each and every one of you. All right, another Tuesday. All right, well, let's hop into the latest. We got I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it. Alex Jones pronounced it the Hanta virus. I'm assuming it's Hanta or Hanta virus. I'm going to go with Hanta virus. So here we are again, Hanta virus. The exact stats on the hantavirus. Let me throw this out there on the hantavirus so far. I busted them out. Got the stats from them here. So when we're talking about it, odds of dying, this is from Liz Wheeler, odds of dying from the hantavirus are 1 in 35 million. Odds of dying from a lightning strike are 1 in 15 to 20 million. Odds of dying in a car accident, 1 in 9,000. Odds of dying from a medical error, 1 in 1,000 to 1 in 1,400. So far, we have 9 confirmed cases worldwide, 1 confirmed in the United States, 16 isolated in Nebraska. 8 states are now monitoring, though. Can we, any of us guess? I don't know what the states are. Can any of us guess what those states are that are monitoring? I mean, of course, it's going to be California. It's going to be Illinois. It's going to be New York. We know that. It's going to be Washington, Oregon, states like that. How many hantavirus deaths are there per year? But, because everybody is thinking, I know not you guys are the red-pilled ones, but how many hantavirus deaths are there per year? I thought this was the first thing. I thought maybe this was a novel virus. No, happens every year. Just like we had the exact same deaths, which we've chronicled on this show 500 times, with the exact same amount of deaths during the coronavirus pandemic as when there is no pandemic. Hence the reason why there was never a pandemic. Because there was never any excess deaths. How can that be, Tom? Because they had the death count every day up on CNN. Well, because they were just taking people dying of everything and attributing it to COVID, and every pneumonia death was COVID. Every other COVID coronavirus death, which is the common cold, which leads to pneumonia, was a COVID death. Every flu death was a COVID death. That's why we ended up with 0 flu deaths, and all of them, remember that, how that was over 2020. 0 flu deaths, and then thousands. We have 30 to 80,000 flu deaths per year in the United States. And suddenly we had 1,200. And nobody, I mean, again, I'm speaking to a red-pilled crowd, so I'm not really talking to you. I'm just talking about in a general sense. It's amazing that that doesn't overturn the beliefs of so many people. So there's 8 to 12 hantavirus deaths per year in the United States anyway, and about 350,000 deaths from medical error per year in the United States anyway. 1 to 1.2 million Americans die per year. About 8 of those per year are hantavirus every single year. So this whole thing, and right now, we have 1 confirmed case, but this is how it all started with COVID too. This is how we all, and they're gonna, I mean, I'm gonna try not to speak any negativity, but we all know that the left is going to try to leverage this in some way, shape, or form for political power. Just like they did with COVID, but hopefully this time, because hantavirus does have a substantive death rate, 38% death rate for the Andes virus, I believe, the Andes strain, hantavirus Andes strain, I believe, or and again, don't hold me to that. I think it's the Andes strain, but anyway, so it does have a substantive death rate. But there are all kinds of diseases that have substantive death rates that are out every year. So let's break all this down. This may not be your thing. Maybe you want to talk about, the election stuff or whatever. But we got to break it down because it's all over the place. I mean, everybody's talking about it, whether it's Glenn Beck or Alex Jones. We've got a short Alex Jones clip to show you, but everybody's talking about it because you have to talk about it now because all of this becomes a big deal. How many of you have ever heard of hantavirus before? None of us have. But Americans die of it every single year and always have. But yet now it's become allegedly this new outbreak. It's not a new outbreak. There is no outbreak. It is a rat urine feces-borne virus that unless you are in close proximity to that or close proximity for an extended period of time with somebody already infected, you have no chance of getting it. All right, so let's break this down now. Peter McCullough video, hantavirus Andes strain MV Hondius outbreak timeline. Here is the timeline, then I'll play his video real quick. Here's the timeline for the hantavirus outbreak. It seems like it was a while ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. What is today, the 12th or 13th? 12th?
12th.
Okay, today's 12th.
Yep.
So 11 days ago, 4/1/2026, shipped to parts likely infected, this is all from Peter McCullough, with infected rodents on board. 4/11, 10 days later, Dutch man dies on the ship. 4/24, it's very extenuated. 4/24, spouse of, oh no, I'm a whole month. I said it was 10 days ago. No, that was 4. This is 5. So a month and a half ago. Now we're getting close though. 4/24/26, spouse of Dutch man disembarks in St. Helena with his, it says his body, I don't know, and dies shortly after, it must be with his spouse and dies afterwards. 4/24, ill British man disembarks and airlifted to Johannesburg, improved now out of ICU. 4/24/26, 28 passengers get off and remain well. 5/2/26, German dies on ship in harbor in Cape Verde. Authorities refuse to let the ship dock at the port because of the suspected hantavirus outbreak. 5/2/26, WHO locks passengers in cabins. Here we go. With infected rodents ventilation system, fresh air on dock not permitted. So how do you, again, this is just like COVID. How do you keep yourself from getting COVID? Get out in the fresh air. It's 76% of all COVID cases were caught when people were locked down in their house from the orders of Anthony Fauci, Deborah Birx, Francis Collins, and all the rest of the idiots. That, by the way, Trump went along with. 15 days to flatten the curve. So you now already have the WHO locking people into their cabins with people when it is transferred from person to person if there's substantive contact. So what would you do if it's transferred using or transmitted via substantive contact? What would you do as a logical person? You would not allow a person to be in substantial contact with another person. Why would you lock them in their cabins with other people? Just like they did during COVID. These are the experts. That's why you have Tedros, I can't remember what his last name is. Ghebreyesus. Tedros Ghebreyesus, the Ethiopian terrorist who actually runs the WHO. I mean, I just saw him recently. The man has absolutely no medical expertise whatsoever and is telling the world how to react. And by the way, another little part of this timeline is this is right after the World Pandemic Treaty was rejected by the United States. Then lo and behold, we have a hantavirus outbreak. What are the odds? Right after, now remember what the WHO Pandemic Treaty was, is that basically is the WHO saying, you know what, from now on, everybody's going to come underneath our umbrella, and whenever there's an outbreak of any kind, and by the way, that can be climate change. They can have a climate change outbreak, and they can declare it pandemic conditions, and they can start putting out their mitigations, which is always lock yourself in your house. It's just like the ridiculous things that they tell kids to do when there's an active shooter. Lock yourself in your classrooms. Is that really what you should do? Or should you all, you know what, find the nearest exit where there isn't a gunman and get the heck out of there instead of locking yourself in classrooms where inherently the gunman always comes and shoots a bunch of people. So it always was. These are the quote unquote the experts. They're not experts. But lo and behold, right after the pandemic treaty out of the WHO was rejected, lo and behold, we have the hantavirus outbreak of 9 total confirmed cases worldwide. 510, but and by the way, this is how it started with COVID too. I used to run the numbers like every show. This is how it always was. And to this day, I just heard a CNN commentator claim, well, this has a much more substantial, this is not a 1% fatality virus. This is a much more substantial fatality virus. She's still claiming that the coronavirus is 1% fatality. I still hear Rand Paul say that. It was never 1%. It was 0.1%. And we used to run the stats all the time, and they would keep claiming that there was a pandemic. How would anybody know? And how you always can know? Just look out on the streets. Where are the body wagons? Where are the bodies? Where are the dead bodies? Where are the full funeral homes? Where are the full emergency rooms? Never was here, ever. And we checked. All right, so 510, now of this month, 2 days ago. Remaining passengers disembark in Canary Islands. Man, they're on the ship a long time. 5/11/2026, MV Hondia still virus contaminated, likely with rodent reservoir, set sail with 30 crew to Rotterdam, Netherlands. Hantavirus spreads, Peter McCullough, from rodents to humans. False narrative propagated by the mainstream media that Andes strain is spread person to person, but never actually proven. World's attention on biocontaminant centers and mass PCR testing. They're already advocating for mass PCR testing. And remember what PCR testing is. PCR testing will test whether or not you've ever even been exposed to a virus, not ever had it. And the person who actually developed PCR, the Nobel Prize winning man who developed PCR, said never use it. Never use it to diagnose a viral infection. And what do we use it for? To diagnose a viral infection. So, and he says 30 member crew sailed off, risking more time they're sailing off with the rodent infested ship instead of actually cleansing the whole thing. All right, so let's go. Oh, I didn't play this. Play the video for me, guys.
We know the WHO and the mainstream media are already creating this false narrative that it's spreading person to person and that the right thing to do is lock people up on the ship, which is completely wrong. And we're calling it out now real time. That's the difference now, Tommy, is that we're not behind on this story. Just like when the bird flu outbreak and the monkeypox national emergency, real time we responded to it with a reasonable counter narrative. And on bird flu and monkeypox, we prevailed. Mm-hmm. We prevailed. And I anticipate we're going to prevail here because we have the right concepts. I'm a card-carrying epidemiologist. I'm as experienced or more experienced than anybody at the WHO.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's because that's you vocalize it more eloquently as you often do than I was trying to.
Well, it's also important to call it. So listen, if we hear today or tomorrow they've airlifted a few more people who've gotten off or got sick, or one of the WHO people gets sick, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised because they're not handling the problem. The ship is the problem.
All right, so there you go. That's Peter McCullough. So there it is. And Aaron found out it's hantavirus, like hantavirus. And there was actually more research from Aaron. There was an episode of The X-Files in 2000 that had a hantavirus outbreak. So it just shows you that none of this is real. Remember, these people are very zealous, stupid human beings. Whether it's Ghebreyesus, whether it's Kathy Hochul, who's already got her eye on this and getting her preparations in order, the governor of the state of New York. And they have already made it legal to open up virus camps there, concentration camps. That was passed during all the COVID, during the COVID times. They made it legal where they can make you now, in the state of New York, they can make you go to a quarantine camp. They made that legal, and she's got her eye on it now, right in time for the midterms. Amazing, isn't it? And they're just monkeypoxing this thing. If enough people buy into it, and we'll see who the first pastor is, if it goes that far, which I hope it doesn't. I hope we never have to go through the COVID crap again. Believe me, I hope we never do. But it just shows you that the timing here is very suspicious, as usual. Right before the midterms, Trump's already royally screwed himself with the stupid Iran war. What are we on? Day 70 what now? 74?
Oh, yeah.
Day 74 of the 4-day war. I mean, Netanyahu's only off by 70 days so far. All right, well, hopefully we'll get to some of that. But anyway, so he's already royally screwed himself and everybody else. Luckily, as he screws himself, he does other brilliant things like the redistricting effort, which has bought us a net 8 seats as of right now, 14-6 in our favor. But anyway, so here's Alex Jones. Justin reports that the hantavirus has mutated, explode as positive cases. Reports that hantavirus has mutated. Has it? No. As positive cases and deaths are confirmed across the world. Play for me.
There is no doubt from the way the hantavirus was rolled out and the way they hyped up this ship, and then suddenly there were cases and deaths all over the world of this same strain of hantavirus that's new. Now they're saying it's mutated again. And all they got to do is point a PCR test at somebody that's died and set it to that and turn it up and claim that falsely. That's what they did with COVID 6 years ago. So the propaganda, all the things they've said and done, the UN, World Health Organization head, a few days ago saying, you better give us our global treaty, you better take all our shots, you better apologize to us. They have launched their new COVID 2.0. And then magically, as I predicted, there's suddenly all these new deaths from this same strain of hantavirus in different parts of the world that have nothing to do with the ship. First suspected generation 3 hantavirus cases, an Italian who sat alongside a woman on Dutch KLM flight before she died, developed symptoms amid fears virus has mutated. Oh, weaponized, gain of function. And the big vaccine makers 2 years ago started multiple companies making their new vaccines that are just now ready magically. Wow. Dutch hospital worker forced to quarantine after possible hantavirus exposure due to PPE failure. Wow. Oh, we need new lockdowns. Oh, put your mask back on, the EU says. Hantavirus latest. We don't know the virus is mutated, says France. It may have mutated. Look at the Drudge Report. As hantavirus cases rise, U.S. officials say risk very low. Remember, we heard that in 2020 when they were the ones actually getting ready to roll out the lockdowns. So they say it's no big deal, so they look legitimate later when they say, oh, it is a big deal. And it goes on from there.
So this is the great disadvantage of being alive in this age of social media. Everybody is looking at their phones all day. Now, again, I don't want to be one of these guys who says, you know what, back when I was a kid, we walked to school in the snow uphill both ways, okay? I don't want to be one of those guys, but here's the thing. Back in the day, because as Aaron just chronicled a couple minutes ago, there was an X-File episode about this 26 years ago. And the exact same amount of people are dying now of hantavirus as did then. Somewhere between, 8 and 12 hantavirus deaths per year in the United States. That's not going to go up. If they turn this thing into a pandemic, they will then claim that everybody's dying of hantavirus, just like they did with COVID. And as we've chronicled on this show 5 million times, there was no excess deaths in the world until the vaccine was rolled out. None. Not for the Alpha variant, not for the Delta variant, not for the Omicron variant. The Omicron variant, yes, because that was post-vaccine rollout, and people were dying of common colds because they have AIDS. They have absolutely no immune system. And those deaths, by the way, are not stopping. I have a whole COVID expose, vaccine expose, that I just can't get to right now because we keep bombing the crap out of foreign countries that are no threat to us. So anyway, I digress. For Israel. But anyway, so if they start to do this, and the PCR tests help with it, and by the way, nobody knows whether a test is ever positive or not. You don't know. You and I don't know how to read it. And by the way, and PCR is just about spinning your genetic material down to your absolute core. It's supposed to have less than 30 repetitions, and they juice it up to 42 repetitions so they can say Joe Blow died of hantavirus, but he never died of hantavirus. He has genetic material that is an essence of hantavirus in it. And then they claim that he died of hantavirus. That's what they do. It's all a lie for political power. People outside of the realm of Jesus Christ are evil people. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Jeremiah 17:9. That's how it is. So just watch this very closely. And now they're claiming mutations. This is going on every year, folks. If we have nine or 10 hantavirus deaths in the United States every freaking year, then what they're doing now in this age of social media, of 24/7 ridiculous news, and people whoring themselves out to get the next story or make up the next story, because it doesn't even matter whether you make it up now. Nobody holds anybody accountable. It doesn't matter anymore. And there's so many liars out there that you can't hold them all accountable, that now they're just chronicling what happens every year and spinning it as something different and spinning it as a possible or plausible pandemic. It's the exact same things happen every year, just like COVID, just like it. And the thing with COVID is I believe there was an actual disease there, but there was never a pandemic. There was never excess deaths. All the hospital data, which we've chronicled a million times on this show, showed there was nothing, but people still believed it. People believe that their relatives were dying of COVID. They were never dying of COVID. They were dying of the treatment to COVID. All you have to do is you go in there to be treated, quote unquote, treated for COVID, and they fill you full of the only approved COVID drug. The only approved hospitalization COVID drug, which is remdesivir, that had a 53% fatality rate when it was tested. But since it comes to Gilead drug, and Anthony Fauci was closely associated with Gilead, it becomes the only drug and killed thousands upon thousands of people. That's what people died of. A few people died of COVID, sure. They can't even prove it. They put the number at 5 to 18 million worldwide. The closest you can get is 13 million. That's the best you can do. It's the same experts are running the show now, and very, very, very peculiar timing. And lo and behold, the vaccine companies, hey, this is just pure coincidence, but we've been working on a hantavirus vaccine. And now it's done. Perfect. Lo and behold, right before the midterms. Oh wow! I mean, it's just amazing that this just happens to happen right now. Amazing, isn't it? Let's go to the next one. Furcon. It's Guzukara. It's Guzukara video. Really good account. But anyway, Dr. Pierre Corey, here we are. We're having to break out our COVID people again. This is one of the heroes of COVID. Exposes a massive media anomaly. Very strange anomaly. Anomaly. There we go. Anomaly happened. It's hard to get that out all of a sudden. Happened right after this began. He reveals over 100,000 articles were published globally about hantavirus in days. But this happens every year, though. Play it for me.
What actually kind of intrigued me more, Talia, about what you said is a colleague told me that there was like 100,000 articles written around the world on hantavirus in the last couple of days. And that's not typical for a hantavirus outbreak. Certainly there's always attention and people get scared, but that's the other thing with COVID. It was COVID 24/7. And then when you said in your intro about how it seems to be driven by influencers, I'm sorry if I'm getting too I actually never want to use the word tin hat because I'm not a tin hat, but these patterns are anomalous. Why, with just this little outbreak of a few cases, suddenly it's consuming the world's media cycle? For instance, I'm on talking about it today. It's because it's being driven by something.
We do. We live in a sick world. I mean, I don't mean that physically sick. We live in a mentally ill world. And everybody's just fed by this crap constantly. I mean, we saw it. And I'm hearkening back to COVID on purpose. But we saw it. I mean, people need a cause. They need a meaning in life, whatever it is, they need it. So they're going to be like, well, you know what? I always wanted to be a lifesaver. Maybe I wanted to be one of those, Coast Guard rescue team guys go out in the helicopters and they lower them down the cord and save lives out of the Bering Sea. I always wanted to be one of those, but I never had the nuts to do it, and I never had the discipline to do it. So now I'm going to save lives by wearing a mask in my car alone and on the beach alone. That's what I'm going to do to save lives. And now I get to label myself a lifesaver. And you think that what Dr. Corey is talking about here is you have 100,000 articles that just pop up. They're not articles anymore. They're social media posts for all intents and purposes. Because nobody really is ever reading a paper anymore. I know there's exceptions to that. You might be one of them. But just so you know, nobody else is. So nobody's reading it. It's just constant scrolling. And people want to doom scroll. People want to, it's almost like go and see a scary movie. They just scroll until they find scary things. Whatever it may be. But we've always had these outbreaks. Always. Just like we've always had, COVID was not even an outbreak. And this, by the way, is not an outbreak. I shouldn't even use the term. We've always had these incidences. It's always that way. There are weird viruses that kill people every year. And as Aaron illustrated, for the third time I bring it up, this was already used as scare porn, fear porn in 2000 in the X-Files.
Yep.
It was already used. So here we go again. It's like Event 201. We're going to war game suspiciously for it. Now, how many of you had ever heard the word coronavirus before 2020? I never have. I never heard the word coronavirus. I was a cop for 25 years during that time. I never heard one time coronavirus ever in my life. But lo and behold, you have Event 201 in October of 2019, about 2 months before the outbreak began at the World Military Games in Wuhan. And they're wargaming for a coronavirus. That right there, nobody's ever even heard the word corona. And then lo and behold, all of this should make the most die-hard leftist, still wearing a mask on planes, person turn on their heels against their own narrative, but it doesn't. It's just stark truth. It's just absolute stark truth. It's literally like preaching a Bible verse where Jesus is saying, John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. And you say there's another way. Because I want to believe there's another way. It doesn't make it so because you believe it. When you see all the major pharmaceutical companies, Merck and Pfizer and all the rest of them, as well as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as well as our future DNI director, all of them show up at this Event 201, 2 months before the outbreak, as well as many other leaders, show up for a coronavirus wargaming session. That should make you stop and say, you know what? It's over. It's the same thing what I told you with the Iran war. Okay, how many more times are we going to fall for the exact same crap? And I know that I'm preaching to the choir and you're not going to fall for this, but maybe you can forward it to somebody who will. But how many more times are we going to fall? I listened to Crowder today interviewing Nick Fuentes. And like Crowder goes, I'm in favor of the Iran war. What if we spent 70 or 80 days there? Why are you in favor of it? Why? Because we're going to kill bad guys. Okay, how many of these are we going to do? Okay, now you're going to go to China next? Nobody's going to touch China. Nobody's going to touch Russia, but they're so scared of Iran having a nuclear weapon when the only people who've ever detonated a nuclear weapon is us. And there's no proof they even have a nuclear weapon or have designs on a nuclear weapon. None. And you could always, if you wanted to, do your little strategic strikes and continue to eliminate their ability to do it. But no, here we are again in day 74 of the 4-day Netanyahu guaranteed war. And how many times are people going to fall for the same crap over and over and over again? This one's real because Pete Hegseth says it is. This one's real because Tedros Ghebreyesus says that it is. Or is it going to be this one's real because Trump says it is, because that's what Trump did during COVID too. And Trump gave us the 15 days to flatten the curve, and he extenuated that to 60 days to flatten the curve, and then gave us Operation Warp Speed. But you're not allowed to say any of that, because if you do say that, you're fake MAGA. But lo and behold, all the people who are real MAGA believe ostensibly what I just said. But they're allowed to be real MAGA and I'm not. See what I mean? All right, Liz Churchill video. Here's, guess who's shown back up? Deborah Birx. Deborah Birx, COVID dictator Deborah Birx, has crawled out of her deep state rat hole. She would like PCR testing for everyone. We're not testing populations, she says. We don't really know whether there are subclinical cases. Play it for me.
And I caution people, because when we say human-to-human transmission, we're talking about people who develop symptoms. But because we're not testing populations with RNAs, we don't really know whether there are subclinical cases. So there could be more human-to-human transmission than we actually see. It's never good to track viruses through symptoms. We should be tracking viruses through blood tests like PCR. We've learned that with COVID. Extraordinarily helpful. Many universities were able to open and schools were able to open because they provided weekly testing, and it really prevented spread. So we know how to deal with these viruses. We just need to move into the 21st century and make testing more widely available to those who need it.
Oh, yeah, that's just exactly what we need. That worked out so well the first time, making PCR tests more widely available to those who need it. I don't know. Why not? This is the scarf lady. Here we are again. And how many people will fall for this crap? I mean, I guess if you're a leftist and it politically benefits you, or it personally benefits you because you have fallen for this hoax, you have no immune system, you've seen people die of noticeably or been severely injured by the vaccine, then you're in full denial about calling it long COVID, and you're willing to just believe the lie again. But those are zombie apocalypse people. But I often think, I don't know how many people on the right are not zombie apocalypse people because they're falling for the Iran war. I mean, now we have Marco Rubio out there, rightfully so, attacking Volodymyr Zelensky because Volodymyr Zelensky is lying about what the United States has offered, because basically they're trying to Putin has reached out sort of or whatever, trying to end this war. And and again, who knows if Putin's telling the truth? But anyway, Zelensky's out there lying. There's been more information that has come out about the misuse of our funds over there. And everybody was against us. I mean, at first, not everybody was, but everybody got on board and eventually was against funding the Ukraine war. But the same people are for getting into the Iran war. I just don't get you people. I mean, I don't get it. I honestly don't. And again, I'm not necessarily speaking to anybody watching the show. I'm just saying to anybody who does watch this, I don't get you people. How do you keep falling for these lies? And this hantavirus, this should be a wake-up call, because here it comes again. Just like Netanyahu, since 1984. Iran's 2 weeks away. 2 weeks away since 1984. I mean, shall we tabulate the numbers once again? Okay, so 40-something years now, 42 years, he's been advocating that they're 2 weeks away. Am I wrong, Aaron? Or is 42 years a lot more than 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yep. Slightly.
Slightly more. I mean, so so people fall for it again. And it's the same thing here. You even trot out the COVID whore. You even trot her out. Deborah Birx with her scarf back on, proclaiming we need to do more PCR testing. How is this woman not in federal prison? How is she not in federal prison? For killing Americans and countless people around the world. How is Fauci not? I'm sure Kash Patel's all over it. I know he's on Capitol Hill calling Chris Van Hollen, which I love that exchange, by the way, in Kash Patel's favor. Calling Chris Van Hollen that which he is, which is a globalist leftist whore. But that's my own words, not his. But still, how are these people not in prison? But anyway, all right, Vince Langman video. Here we go again, just in time for the midterms. Here's Kathy Hochul, governor of the state of New York. Play for me.
There are 3 individuals who call New York home. We don't know whether those individuals will be returning to New York. I believe that there is a 42-day monitoring period, and they can decide whether they want to do that in Nebraska or come back and make other accommodations. But my health department, my departments, all have been involved with the CDC from the beginning. And I want to make sure that the CDC is capable of handling something should it grow larger than they're predicting. We have outstanding researchers here in the state of New York, scientists. Our Wadsworth laboratory is second to none. So I've activated them to start preparing New York for worst case scenarios and hope they don't come. But I cannot, as governor, not be prepared for anything that could happen. And again, given our concern about Washington, that I have to step up and make sure that New York is helping lead the way here.
So you step up and make sure that, she's keeping you safe. Safe at home, together alone together. And she has activated, her health troops or whatever. Remember now, if you live in New York, it is already legal for them to forcibly put you into a COVID camp, forcibly put you into a pandemic camp. They've made it legal. You can research it. It's absolutely true. All they have to do is declare that there is some sort of outbreak of some sort of disease, and they can haul your butt into a COVID camp. I hope all the Mamdani supporters love being hauled into some arena somewhere where you can live there for months, because Kathy Hochul has activated her COVID troops in case it's much worse than what they're saying. Right in time for the midterms, just like Vince Langman said in his title to the video. Here's an interesting thing. These little things will continue to pop up, I'm sure. Oli London video. Man from hantavirus cruise ship shares video of the day in a national quarantine unit. Play it for me.
Good morning, everyone. It is my second day here at the National Quarantine Unit in Omaha, Nebraska, and I just wanted to give you a little tour of my room. So you walk in here, and then there is closet space. And then here's my little hand sanitation station, bathroom. We have a dresser and a fridge, a smart TV. Here's my thermometer for temperature checks during the day. I have a stationary bike for exercise, a recliner, my bed.
Now, here's this guy again. You got the second one loaded up for me? Now, is that the second? Oh, that's day 2. There we go. That's the one I need. All right. So, very strangely, he was a major app. Now, see, you saw how excited he was in his room, right? He's so excited to be there again. He's got his thermometer back out. He's so excited because we're back to COVID times for these idiots. So, finally, there's a reason to live. Because now you get to pretend that your life is in danger. So you are somebody standing in the face of death without ever standing in the face of death. But you get to think that you are. He's so excited. You and I would be so depressed if we were locked in, because he's going to be in that room for 40 days. So you and I would be mega depressed. Not these people. And understand, that's who we're living with. These are Americans. They are in the Matrix. They are people who are absolute zombies. He's so excited. He's got his thermometer. You saw his mask sitting there. A stationary bike that obviously he never rides is there in his nice clean room. Oh, his hand sanitizer. Speaking the language. Well, this is the same guy during the COVID era. Play it for me.
Vaccinated, gorgeous vaccinated girls get boosted, and gorgeous boosted girls get boosted again if you're eligible.
Very strange, isn't it? It's just like you have Ryan Roth and Thomas Crooks in a BlackRock commercial. Strange, isn't it? Strange. You got this guy who's a vaccine whore, a COVID whore, and lo and behold, he just happens to be on the ship where the hantavirus has an outbreak, right? It's very strange, isn't it? Very odd. All right, so where am I at here? Okay, that one's good. All right, Valerie Ann Smith video. Here's we're off the hantavirus now, but I have to show you this because it's mRNA. This is Nicholas Holscher speaking to, I think, Lindell TV. Valerie Ann Smith video. They're killing our pets and it could be spreading to you. Play it for me.
Our pets. Is it true that they are putting mRNA in things like the rabies vaccine?
Unfortunately, it's true. Last year, the USDA authorized Novavax NXT. It's developed by Merck. It's a RNA particle injection that are self-amplifying RNA particle injection for dogs and cats for rabies, feline leukemia virus, and canine flu. So veterinarians across the country are injecting self-amplifying RNA injections into our pets. Most people don't even know. They'll go to the vet. Nobody tells them it's self-amplifying RNA. This can probably shed onto dog or cat owners through bodily secretions, given how it's self-amplifying. So if you go to the vet and you have to give your dog or cat a rabies shot, make sure it's not Novavax NXT.
Oh my gosh, I gotta go check that, because now if my cat got it, does that mean I'm vaccinated?
We don't know. They never tested it.
Oh my gosh, this is horrifying.
What a shock. They never tested it. They just unleashed it on the public. Because there's no liability whatsoever on these vaccine companies. How is that allowed? You know why it's allowed? Because everybody's favorite president, Ronald Reagan, was the one who actually gave them all exemptions to liability.
Yep.
That couldn't be on purpose or anything. I mean, come on. It couldn't be like Ronald Reagan was a globalist whore too, was he?
No.
Maybe is any of it true? No. Again, I'll just roll through it for you. Pretty much after the Revolutionary War, and definitively everything after 1913, it's all a lie.
Yeah.
Everything you see is a lie. World War I, World War II. Doesn't mean that I don't believe that they were heroes in the trenches of World War I and on Normandy in World War II. But they were actually young men fighting other young men they don't know for old men who know each other. That's what it is, folks. I mean, that you really just need to understand that there's a world system, which is Ephesians chapter 2, run by the prince of the power of the air. God is not in control. God is sovereign. He is above it all. He is superior to it all. He is not sovereign, and as people teach it. So World War II and Hitler was under the sovereignty of God. Whenever you have an argument with somebody about the sovereignty of God, all you need to do is go, okay, so God's sovereignty, he wants child rapists because it's sovereign. And then so lo and behold, then they start backpedaling. And by the way, how can God's sovereignty have people like me who don't believe in God's sovereignty? You see what I mean? So anyway, but God's sovereignty, the word sovereignty means above all, not in control of all. It's another bastardized thing so that weak Christians can explain away their failures. I don't explain away my failures. I go to the Bible and find an explanation for why I'm failing. But anyway, so you just see it now. You know, all the things that you see are ushered in oftentimes by our heroes. Okay, because this right here, there's no experimentation done. There's no double-blind placebo test. And now they're going to start killing our pets with mutating mRNA. It's like a self-amplifying mRNA. Yeah. It creates its own reason to be vaccinated. It's just disgusting. They don't know. Novavax NXT, run by, of course, Merck, which is as evil can be. And now they have to get into our pets. You just leave us alone. All right, might change the subject here. No, I got one more. It's not. We're off of hantavirus. But anyway, Nick Sortor video. We'll do both of these. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to do both of these in a row. First one's Nick Sortor video. Next one's MJ Truth Ultra video. Breaking FDA Commissioner Marty Makary has resigned. And then the second video, you'll hear why he resigned from Dr. Robert Malone. Play it for me.
The FDA Commissioner Marty Makary is resigning. That is according to the AP, who is citing an administrative official. Makary's 13 months at the agency saw disagreements with lawmakers, White House officials, drug makers, and HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy. At just in, the FDA Commissioner Marty Makary has resigned.
The moral transgressions, the corruption, the distortion of data, the falsification of data, the suppression of key findings, such as the pediatric deaths that are not being allowed to be released to the public.
Who's blocking that? So children deaths because of COVID-19 shots, that's being suppressed?
The name is Marty.
Marty Makary.
Yeah.
So you've named a few names now. Heidi Overton, Marty Makary.
Really? Who testified to Congress about against, mandates, vaccine mandates.
Yeah, so I really, there's a lot of dynamics that are going on. There is a huge amount of rumor mill going on about the reorg. As you know, there was just a major reorg at HHS with promotion of some key leaders from within the CMS group that's been so effective under Dr. Oz's leadership to positions where they're functionally chief operating officer for HHS. There's just been a major amount of change within the overall sixth floor operation. And of course, now we have a case where the nominated Surgeon General is not going to clear Senate approval. And so that's another issue.
See, this is the thing that happens. And again, I don't know if this is what happened with Marty Makary or not, but Marty Makary was pretty good during COVID. Not flawless, but pretty good during COVID. Certainly not flawless. But then you go into your position as FDA commissioner, one of the most highly sought after positions in the United States government for people who are doctors and things like that, or qualified people. And then lo and behold, he is hiding, I always call sequestering, banning COVID-19 vaccination child deaths. Why would you do that? Because that was all part of the hiding to begin with, which I won't get into right now. But I mean, that was part. They knew, the Biden administration knew that that the vaccines, the COVID vaccines, were causing myocarditis and blood clots and deaths. And what they did was hide it. And then so someone like Marty Makary comes in, you think he's going to be somebody who exposes it, not hides it. But what does he do? He comes in and hides it. Why? Because I think what happens is you go in there and you see all of the possible trappings of success. You see all the possible benefits. You're now talking to these sort of aristocrats, these elites, people who consider themselves to be elites. They're all idiots, by the way. It's just kind of a bunch of, really, we're not much different than the royal family, a bunch of inbred morons in D.C. But anyway, literally and figuratively. But anyway, you get in there and you start thinking, man, these doors are opening for me. I could be looking at millions. I could be looking at tens of millions of dollars. I'm in the game now. But being in the game means that you are effectively, completely and totally neutered from all truth for the rest of your life. But somehow you're in the game. I mean, you have to think about it. I don't mean to be overly philosophical here, but that's what happens to Ben Shapiro. You're in the game, but Ben can't come out against the vaccines because if he is, he loses his empire, which he's lost now anyway. You see that's what happens is they look at the benefits of all what, the doors that are opening. But if you tell the truth, those doors will close. It's just like, I'm not trying to equate myself. I'm just saying when the Iran war started, I had 200 more people watching. Okay. And I'm not a huge podcast anyway, but I had 200 more people watching. But if you're going to tell the truth about it, you're going to lose people. People like Marty Makary, in my opinion, and in many others, and in some ways Donald Trump himself, they come in and they're like, you know what? What is the positives and the negatives about me speaking in the truth and acting in the truth? And I want to be the person who disarms Iran. But how do you even know they're armed? But I want to be on the record. So you're looking at, the positive parts of it is now I'm going to be the one who finally does it. Well, maybe everybody else knew not to do it. Maybe even Hussein Obama wasn't stupid enough to get into a 74-day war with Iran.
Yeah.
And even Joe Biden, his dilapidated condition, knew not to get in this war. Doesn't mean that I don't support their support of Islam. I don't support either one of them. I don't support Judaism. I don't support Islam. I don't support Islamic terrorism. I am not for the Palestinian state. And I believe the negative things about Muslims and Muslim immigration because I've seen it. But anyway, so I just think that they come in, they get caught in the trappings of open doors. Man, if I don't tell the truth, then I'm going to be invited as a keynote speaker for $500,000, and I get to be accepted by people.
Yes.
People are going to consider me, these people who have name recognition, they're going to consider me to be legit now instead of a wingnut tinfoil hat wearer. Well, you know what? The people who are the wingnuts and the tinfoil hat wearers are the ones who advocated for these vaccines. And Marty, you should have been releasing the information. That's why he resigned. I guarantee he didn't. He resigned because RFK Jr. wants all of this information released. And we'll see how much Trump lets out now. But anyway, all right, so let's go to the next one. Little James Comey clip, a couple of James Comey clips here. So we're going to play both of these in a row too. DSTN Club video. James Comey just nailed, this is just a leftist. James Comey just nailed Trump and his DOJ over their baseless attacks on him. He didn't nail anything. He looks like an idiot. And then I just put in this video afterwards, Christian Collins video. James Comey went on national television today and said Trump has a bottomless desire for revenge. And the reason why I put the Christian Collins video in there is because here's why Donald Trump wants revenge. Play it for me.
Donald Trump has a bottomless desire to gain revenge against those who've criticized him And I'm not going to stop criticizing him because I think that's required if you care about America. And so it will just keep going. If he gets rid of Blanche, he'll try to find someone else. Look, at the bottom of every barrel, there are still apples. And so he will find someone to do what he wants to do.
Do you think that's where we are with Todd Blanche, at the bottom of the barrel?
Only time will tell. I mean, Pam Bondi, I thought, was not a good fit for the role, and her standards are apparently too high.
Convict him, bar him from future service, have the prosecutors, the local prosecutors in New York, pursue him for the fraudster that he was before he ever became president, lock him up for the garden variety frauds he did there, but don't give him that center stage, that dominant role in our national life just down the street where Joe Biden is trying to.
Gee, James, I wonder why it is that he wanted revenge. Gee, I wonder why, James. And you notice how, just a little, I have to analyze one little part of that video from James Comey, the second one, is he says, let those local prosecutors in New York, he knew Matthew Colangelo from the DOJ had been number 3 in charge of the DOJ, gets dispatched to be a line prosecutor for Alvin Bragg and then prosecutes the case himself in New York. He knows that's why he said the lying sack of crap that he is. He just reminds me of so many people. They're just absolute fakes. They're just a fraudulent human being. I never know why people aren't just themselves. They put out these personas. But anyway, he has to throw that in there and say that, these state prosecutors, he knows that it was Matthew Colangelo. See, just because this man who claims to be this moniker of integrity is an absolute bold-faced, disgusting, demonic liar. All right, so let's do this for a couple minutes. Let's get into Thomas Massie. So you know me, I'm taking sides. I'm on Thomas Massie's side over Donald Trump.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. And let's diagnose why. Good morning, Liberty. Okay, I'll admit it. Until Massie's interview with Tucker, I had deduced from attack ads against him that Trump's big, beautiful bill banned taxpayer funding. Because people are like, why didn't you vote for the big, beautiful bill? Well, everybody, I want to let you know all this. We're seeing all of the hundreds of billions of dollars of hospice fraud and Medi-Cal fraud in California right now. I mean, it's getting so bad, and Gavin Newsom's funneling it to his wife, and the myriad of fraud. And there's just a huge fraud case that just opened up in North Carolina. I'm not going to get to some of this stuff tonight. I'm going to see where is it? Just in from Eric Doherty, North Carolina has just reported 47,000%. By the way, I'm not exaggerating. 47,000% increase in autism billings. Now, guess what funded all that? Can we all guess? Can anybody guess? Donald J. Trump's big, beautiful bill funds all these NGOs.
Wow.
And then Thomas Massie voted against it, just like I would have. But you can't vote against it because if you do, you're fake MAGA. I'll take it. Thank you. I'd rather be fake MAGA than being a lying sack of sycophantic crap. I knew Massie voted against the bill, and I knew that he doesn't support sex change for minors. What I didn't know is that the provision was dropped from the bill. So the bill had no money for trans sex operations, right? That was in there. But lo and behold, before it got to Johnny Thune, it was dropped, who has still yet to do one recess appointment. Everybody else gets 40 or 50 recess appointments. He's done 0 because he's fake. What I didn't know is that this provision was dropped from the bill in the Senate before the final vote, meaning every Republican who voted for the bill voted to continue funding sex changes for minors, just so everybody knows. And Massie voted against it, just like he had voted against all of Trump's COVID caving bills too. You remember, again, we all know $7 trillion between Donald Trump and Joe Biden was spent on COVID. But they've only been able to track $800 billion of that money spent on COVID. So where is the other $6.2 trillion? Nobody knows. I do. NGOs. That's where it's at, making Democrats and rhinos rich. Thomas Massie votes against that crap. Donald Trump continues to fund it. I've already told you the greatness of Trump. Closed borders, the redistricting. Great job. How's the gas prices looking? Aren't you glad we won? What's the difference between gas prices caused by Joe Biden cutting off permitting for futures investments or starting another freaking stupid war? Anybody? What's the difference? No difference to me. I know that when I filled up I have an F-250 diesel, and when I filled it up, it was $115 yesterday. That I know. Actually, Sunday. That I know. That was fun to be back there again. It gotten it to where it was like $87. Now it's $115 again. That's great, isn't it? Aren't you glad we won? All right, let's go to this one. Thomas Massey video. The first version of the big beautiful bill defunded sex changes for minors. But the final version that everyone but me voted for, in fact, the version that Donald Trump signed, knowing that he's funding lopping off penises, testicles, and breasts. Again, I've complained about this for forever, how Congress continues to do this over and over and over again, funding Joe Biden's bills because they were actually, Mike Johnson, I complained about Mike Johnson, continuing to fund Joe Biden's trans surgeries for minors. Well, Donald Trump did it himself. Again, play it for me.
Crimes against the swamp. And when I voted against the big bill, they're using, they're picking things out of it to run ads against me right now. Let me give you an example. So the draft version, the first version that passed the House of Representatives, defunded transgender surgery, sex changes, basically for minors. There was lots of good stuff and lots of bad stuff in that bill, but I voted against it because I said it'll bankrupt the country. Okay, but it had that good provision in it. The Senate took the good provision out that defunded sex changes for minors, and then everybody voted for the big beautiful bill again, except for me. But it had the money for sex change for minors. So because I voted no against both versions, they prefer to use the first version and run ads and say that I voted not to defund sex changes for minors. When in fact, everybody who voted for that damn bill in the end put the money back in for sex changes for minors.
What liars.
It's a total lie.
Who put out that ad saying that?
These super PACs. Again, they're not talking, they're distorting my record instead of telling you why they're trying to flush me out of Congress. They want to flush me out of Congress because I don't vote for foreign aid.
See, if you don't, I mean, everybody think about this, okay? And, I know, like I told you, half hour ago, I lost 200 viewers by talking like this. And you know how much I care? None. Because the truth is the truth. I mean, if you have to lie to be sycophantically supportive of a human being, what are you but a cultist? I mean, seriously, if you know that the bill now has transgender surgeries for minors fully funded by you and me, by the way, in other words, that's happening right now because the big, beautiful bill launched last summer is now coming through to this summer. So if you have to sit there and go, well, in order for me to be supportive of Trump, I need to support the things that I'm against, then what is Trump but against what you're for? And for what you're against. And I mean, how do people not see it? And again, I'm not saying that all of that I regret voting for Donald Trump. I don't, because I certainly didn't want Kamala. And I don't agree with the extreme of voting, people that are, well, not people, it's Nick Fuentes out there voting for Democrats. I'm never voting for a Democrat or anything like that. But the thing is, you have to acknowledge that which is true. And why did all the Republicans vote for this bill? Because they wanted to be on Trump's good side. They wanted to be on the list of people who voted for Trump or voted for on the side of Donald Trump in the big, beautiful bill, so they don't get lambasted and so Trump doesn't come after them. But why would you do that voting against your values? That makes you what? Controlled opposition and a political whore. Lauren Witzke video. Now here's where Charlie Cook stood on Thomas Massey. Play it for me.
One of the most exciting developments from last week's negotiations is the new church committee. And one of the members of that new church committee is one of my favorite members of Congress. He loves the Constitution. He loves liberty. He's honest and he's tough, and he's going to really go after the intel agencies. It's Thomas Massey, who's just terrific, from Kentucky. Congressman Massey, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks.
All right, so there you go. That's where Charlie Kirk stood on him. All right. Now, here's the flip side. Here's Cat Turd. Now, Cat Turd is a sycophantical Trump follower. Did great on COVID. But yet still thinks, does great on COVID, says the right things on the Ukraine war, then supports us starting another foreign war. Makes absolutely no sense. The reason why is because if Cat Turd goes against Trump, he loses his audience, like I did. But he's not. So you think about that. What are you then? I'm not just talking exclusively. I am talking about Cat Turd, but I'm not talking exclusively about Cat Turd. If you are willing to violate your own principles so that you maintain an audience. What are you? You are a principleless charlatan whore. That's what you are. You are violating your principles to maintain an audience. I mean, how many of you? How many people would violate your principles to keep a job? I'm not going to lie to keep a job. I'm not going to lie to keep my job at Foundation Church or my job when I was a sheriff's deputy. I didn't lie. I'm not going to lie to keep my job. But how many people would? And here you have Cat Turd. He tries this. He got absolutely roasted, which is probably why this was ended up screenshotted and saved, because he ends up burning himself. Right here. He puts it out there. Grok, who is Thomas Massey's biggest donor to this latest campaign? Thomas Massey's biggest donors are retired individuals, Republican conservative groups, based on campaign data from 2011 to 2024. Notably, he has received no contributions, Cat Turd, from AIPAC, consistent with his public criticism of their influence. While some question his broader independence, no evidence suggests AIPAC or pros or groups fund him. His reliance on individual donors supports claims of autonomy. I mean, you want to talk about, what do they call it there? Palm, what is it? Whatever you...
Like a cell phone?
Cell phone, yeah, cell phone. Talk about a cell phone. Because he was really hoping to roast him. Like, all these people who are against AIPAC money, but secretly take it. Go to the next one for me. Now, here's who he's running against. Little Eddie Gowreen. Here he is. Eddie Gowreen's who he's running against. AIPAC money, $6.7 million.
Whew.
$6.7 million. And that's just for this campaign, by the way. Spent by pro-Israel lobby groups and their donors against Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey has no money at all in comparison to the $7 million he's gotten from pro-trans AIPAC Israel supporters. What? Israel's pro-trans? Yes. Yes. Go to Israel. Pro-gay, pro-trans, pro-forced vaccinations, pro-biometric ID. Thomas Massey's not. But the people who are funding the campaign against Thomas Massey are for everything that you're against and against everything that you're for, just so you know. But since Donald J. Trump is behind it, it all becomes righteous? Absolutely not. All right, go to the next one for me. Because here's Trump. Remember what Trump said? Remember 2015? Remember when Donald Trump was Donald Trump? Remember that? Sheldon Adelson. Now, he has since received $200 to $300 million from Miriam Adelson. But Sheldon Adelson is looking to give big dollars to Rubio because he feels he can mold him into his perfect little puppet. I agree. See, how do you do this? How do you do this? And then now you yourself are receiving hundreds of millions of dollars yourself. Unbelievable. Let me just show. I'm just going to read this to you. I'm changing subjects. Going to fraud real quick. I already read you. North Carolina has reported a 47,000% increase in autism billings. That's Eric Doherty. Here's Eric Doherty again. ICE has announced a jaw-dropping fraud bust, saying 10,000. This is the greatness of Trump right here. Saying 10,000. But how are those mass deportations going, everybody? We need to be averaging 3 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just so you know, we're not going to get 300,000 this year.
No.
Just to let you know. Okay. How's that going? But I guess now, since Trump is no longer for mass deportations, and I am, then I'm fake MAGA, right? Even though that was MAGA before, but now MAGA is Lindsey Graham and Mark Levin and Sean Hannity. Okay. All of them pimping, vaccine pimps and whores. All those. Then now we got the hantavirus back out here. So ICE has just announced a jaw-dropping fraud bust, saying 10,000 foreign students are involved in the, what's it, HB1? Is that the thing that you have? Like
H-1Bs.
H-1B is V?
H-1B as a boy.
H-1B as a boy.
Yep.
H-1B. So that's lining up right here in Florida because you have James Fishback, who I'm trying to get to come to the church here, and do a Q&A with everybody. Send it to him, actually, specifically. He said that he's referring it to his team for coordination. So I hope it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But anyway, James Fishback is like, it's H-1B, right, Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay, just don't want to sound stupid. But anyway, H-1B, he's told James Fishback, none. Byron Donalds, open the floodgates. Well, here they are. 10,000 foreign students are involved in the federal government's optional practical training. There are empty buildings where hundreds of students should be working as part of their ability to be in America, run by foreign leaked groups that send money out of the country What are those? The fully funded NGOs coming out of the big, beautiful bill. There you go. Again, it's just the greatness of Trump is that that's being exposed. The greatness of Trump is he will go after people like Gavin Newsom and Cooper out of North Carolina. He will do that. That's the greatness of Trump. But he certainly should not be going after a 99. It depends on which Liberty score you look at, 99 or 96 to 99% Liberty score from Thomas Massey for Eddie Gowreen, who's a leftist.
Yeah.
Come on. All right, 10-14, that's good. All right, what do we got for rants?
We got 4.
All right, 4 rants. Let's hit it.
Jules, 21 hours ago, donated $10. Prayer request for our sister Jean Molfese with ongoing health situation and hospital, June 3rd.
Oh, Jeannie Malfisi. Lord, we lift her up to you right now in Jesus' name. Lord, I don't know what the condition or conditions are, but we receive complete and total healing of it all right now through the power of the Holy Ghost. In Jesus' mighty name. All right, let's go to the next one.
Conservative Warrior 65 donated $10. In a world of morally corrupt people, religious institutions, government institutions, the current system cannot be repaired by any one man. Only Jesus can fix this world. No one man can do it.
Yeah, what we can have is the world's not going to be fixed. It's not going to happen. You just have to read the Bible. But we can have we can have a golden age. We can have a time. I'm stealing that from Trump. We can have a golden age. What we need is revival. And we can have a lot of years of greatness here in the United States and other countries too if it spreads. That's the pandemic that needs to spread, is legitimate revival. And by the way, I never know when you show videos of, on campuses or whatever of people, and I saw a post the other day that Christianity is becoming very popular in the younger generation, but I never know what that Christianity is.
Right.
It's not hard. There's no denominations. You don't need to be Orthodox or Nazarene or whatever, Pentecost. All that. Are they saved via the incorruptible word of God? 1 Peter 1:23. Having been born again, not of corruptible seed, but incorruptible through the word of God, acknowledging that you can be born again of corruptible seed. You're not actually born again. It's a fake born again, but you can be born again of this corrupt. Yeah, everyone just comes forward. Who wants to dedicate their life to Christ? I would like to do that while I'm banging my girlfriend.
Right.
Okay, but they never tell you have to stop banging your girlfriend. You have to turn from your sin. They never say that. So I never know whether it's legitimate revivals or not. So what we need is a legitimate revival where people turn from their sin and get filled with the Holy Ghost and start speaking in tongues. All right, go to the next one.
California 1960 donated $10. Christ is King.
Yes, he is. And we're coming out with hoodies here at the church to say Christ is King on them. You'll see them. And when they debut them, I'll start pimping them on the show. And we're selling them all, though, just so you know. We're giving them away. They're expensive as crap to make. They are. So anyway, so watch it. And I agree. Christ is King. Any more? Or is that
Last one.
Last one.
Earth Tours donated $50. When we die, it's God's will for us to be buried, or is cremation okay?
Earth Tours jumps in like it's the Bible study, but since it's a huge rant, $50, thank you so much for that. For me, again, what does the Bible say? Nothing. So who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't. God will. If you decide to get all burned up or whatever, in cremation, God will put it all back together. So to me, it doesn't matter. It's certainly not banned in the Bible. Whatever the Bible says yes to, you say yes to. Whatever the Bible says no to, you say no to. And whatever the Bible doesn't address, it doesn't matter. So there you go. All right, love you guys. Appreciate each and every one of you. Stick around for the post-game. Post-game is awesome. Back here tomorrow night, as always, at 9 p.m. I love you guys. Thank you for sticking with me. Again, one more time, stick around for the post-game back here tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Love you all. God bless you.
Abortion is demonic, by the way.
Yeah.
Satan would kill God if he could, but he can't. So he kills babies because he knows it wounds the heart of the Father and causes chaos on the earth. You see, abortion is actually the sacrament of Satan. Because abortion says, you must die so I can live. But Christ says, no, I must die so you can live. And chooses to enter human history in a uterus of all locations to redeem mankind from their sins. That's why it uses the same holy words. This is my body, but with the opposite blasphemous meaning. Do you think it's a coincidence that the central phrase of the entire abortion industrial complex and the culture of death today are the same words of our Savior at the First Communion? This is my body. And because Planned Parenthood is not only the largest abortion provider in the world, they're the largest provider of transgender drugs. They call both of those mutilations health care. Did you know this? What do they call transgender surgeries? Gender affirming. What do they call abortion? Reproductive. Right. They call them both health care. So if they can't get the babies in the womb, they'll get them outside the womb. They defend both practices using bodily autonomy arguments. This is, it is not a coincidence that the argument for abortion is quoting the words of our Savior.
Oh, there's a fish on there.
Ah! Oh my God!
Oh my gosh.
Show. Fashion show.
And here it goes. I'm just a kid and
Oh shit! Oh man!
in a little bit, not yet. Oh no! Oh!
This deviant dominant muscle, my dad, I'm doing too.
Up push, air speed call, vertical 5-5, easing more power, ready roll hat, ease the pull, rolling out, the loop break, up we go, vertical 4-5, up we go, a mile and a half, mark, ground speed, 1 mile, mark, smoke up, push, go, diamond stinger. Right, jump, sit back. Adding power. Let's have it going.
They're faking a shot of being halfway to the moon. And they refer to you on the tape as a shot that was done during Apollo 10, where you put a transparency over the window and moved the camera of the Earth and moved the camera back away from the window, turned off the lights in the spacecraft, and appeared to be halfway to the moon when in fact they were in Earth orbit.
Huh, really?
Yeah, and they said it was the same way that you did it on Apollo 10. So we wanted to give you the opportunity to put your left hand on the Bible, to raise your right hand, to swear to God.
Stick it in your ear.
Well, you were giving an opportunity to swear to God under oath that you walked on the moon.
I don't do that kind of thing.
Well, if you really walked on the moon, what's the problem with swearing to God that you did? Do you believe in God?
You want me to knock you in the head?
Well, I want you to swear to God on the Bible that you walked on the moon. If you walked on the moon, we're giving the opportunity to swear to God that you walked on the moon.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to get the hell knocked out of you. You don't leave me alone.
Underneath all of that is the Bible. I am unapologetically 100% in favor of is the Bible. Jesus is the Word. There is no delineation. If the Bible says it, that's what Jesus is, and that's what Jesus believes. That's what this podcast is actually about, is to actually alert people to what is coming and what is our responsibility in the midst of it.